Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome back to Developer Roof. In today's lesson, we'll learn about three powerful ES6 plus features: default parameters, optional chaining, and nullish collision. These make our code shorter and safer. Let's start coding. So the first one is default parameters. Let me add a comment. Default parameters. So default parameters lets us set fallback values for function arguments when they are not provided. Let me show you the example. So first, let's create a function create over brackets. Then we can add a parameter name and give it a default value of, let's say, guest. Open curly braces. Inside that we can add our logic. Let's create a console.log. Our backticks inside that have hello and its name. And now let's invoke it to see its value. Let's say greet and our brackets. So inside that we can pass any argument. Let's say we are passing the name is Maruf. Let's say Maruf. So we will get Maruf here. As you can see, hello Maruf. So it is ignoring the default value because we have provided the name here inside the arguments of our greet function. So if we don't pass any value here, so it will get the default one. Save it. You can see hello guest, because we have not provided any value, so it is getting the default one. So this is basically a fallback value. And if you want, you can have multiple defaults, like any argument we skip uses its default value. Let me show you that. Let's add another function. Then let's make it create user. And inside that we can have a name of user. Let's give it a default, let's say anonymous. And we have another parameter, let's say age of a user. Let's make it a default 0. Then we have a role. So what is the role of this user? It's a user. Inside these curly braces, we can just return our name, our age, our role. So this is our function with multiple default parameters. Let's add some logs to see what we get. Let's say create user. We are invoking it inside our console so we can see its result, what we are returning. So inside that we can have, let's say name is Maruf, comma, age is 22, and comma, role is admin, let's say admin. Now if you come here, you will see we are returning age 22, name Maruf, and role admin, because we have provided our arguments here. If I provide only one argument, it will get the values from the default one. Let me show you that as well. Let's add a log. Inside that we can invoke our create user. Inside that we can just pass a name, Ali. We are not passing age or role, so it will get age 0 and role user. If you come here, you'll see name is Ali, age is 0, which is the default one, and role is user, which is also a default one. If we don't pass any arguments, it will get all of the default values. Let me show you that as well. Log create user, and just invoke it. You see, it is getting all the default values. So these were the plain functions. Let me show you the arrow functions. They also work with defaults too. So let's create a variable const multiply equals to our parameters. Let's say a and b. Let's make it default by 1. And then we have an arrow function. Then just say a asterisk b, a multiply by b. So when we invoke it, let's say add a log here, and let's invoke multiply. And inside that we can have argument a is 5 and then b is 3. So we'll see 15, because if we multiply 5 with 3, it will result in 15. If we don't pass the b value, we will get the default one. Let's say multiply, let's invoke it, and let's say 5. So you see, we are getting only 5 because we are now multiplying a, which is 5, and b, which is 1. So 5 and 1 will result in 5. So that's it for this default parameters. Let me comment these out. And let me show you our optional chaining. Let's add a comment. Optional chaining. So optional chaining lets us safely access nested properties without getting errors if something is null or undefined. So let me show you with the example. Let's create an object, const, let's say user. So user name is Maruf. We should add a comma, and then our other property is, let's say, address. Address is an object. Inside this address we have city. So city, let's say city is Hyderabad, comma, and let's add a country. Country is Pakistan. So this is our user. So now let's add a log here to see the value. Now let's log user, then question mark dot address. So this question mark and dot operator checks each level. If any part is undefined, it returns undefined instead of throwing an error. So inside address, if there is a city, just log it. Now you come here, you will see Hyderabad because we have defined a city here. If we don't define any city, let's say we are not defining anything, let's make it empty. So you see, we are not throwing any error. It's just not printing any city because there isn't any. So now let's add another log. Let's say user question mark dot address, and let's add a property which does not exist. Let's say question mark dot zip. Now you will see it is getting us undefined because there's no property called zip inside this address property or address object. So this is the benefit of this question mark and dot. It is called optional chaining. Let's add another log. Let's say user question mark dot phone, because there is no phone property here. Let's say question mark dot number. So it will also get us undefined. You see, we are getting undefined at line number 34, which is this one. So that's it for this part. Let me show you how optional chaining works with null values or arrays or even function calls. It always return undefined instead of crashing the code. Let me show you that as well. Let's say, first let's comment these out. Now we create a variable called user2 equals null. Now let's add a log. Let's add a log and let's say user2 question mark dot name. Now you see it is also undefined because there is no name inside our user. It's null. So this is how the optional chaining works with null values. Let me show you how they work with arrays. Let's say const user or users equals our array. Inside that array we have our object. Let's say name equals Maruf, and let's create another object and let's name it Oli. Now if I log this, let's say users dot our 0, or let's make a question mark to make it optional chaining, and dot name and make it okay. You can see we are getting Maruf because inside our users array and its first index, which is 0, inside that we are getting name, which is this one. Name is Maruf. And if I add another log, let's say log users question mark dot, and let's say 9 at index 9, find me name, because there is no 9th index. We have only 0 and 1, 2 indexes. So we will get undefined. You see, we are getting undefined because it does not find the name at 9th index. So this is how it works with arrays. Let me show you how it works with function. So create a const object, let's say obj, and our object has say hi function. Let's say say hi, and it is an arrow function, so which will return hello, not help but hello. Now if we log this object, inside that object we have say hi. Inside that say hi we have a function, call it. Now you see we have hello because we are returning hello in this function, this one. So now if I log anything that does not exist, let's say inside our object we have say by, because there is no say by property here, so it will get us undefined. Let's say the function. You see we are getting undefined because there is no say by property inside our object. So this is how we do optional chaining. Let's comment it out and let me show you the final feature, which is nullish coalescing. Let me add a comment. Nullish coalescing, which is this sign, 2 question marks. So basically nullish coalescing gives us a fallback value, but only when the left side is null or undefined. Let me show you with the examples so you can understand better. So first let's create a variable called username. Inside that make it null and our nullish coalescing, then let's say guest, and let's log it. Let's add a log and let's log our username. So you will see guest. Okay, you can see we are getting guessed. We are getting guessed because the left side is equals to null. As I said, if left side of this 2 question marks is null or undefined, we will get the value which we put at the right side, which is a default one. So it is null, that's why we are getting guessed. If I add any value here, let's say Maruf, we will get Maruf here. You see, we are not getting guessed because it is the default one. If I make it undefined, we will get a guessed again. You see, let's make it null, and let me show you with another variable. Let's say score equals undefined, and our nullish coalescing then 0. So what do you think what the value we get? Yes, correct, we will get 0. Let's add log. Let's print our score, and you see we are getting 0 because the left side of this nullish coalescing is undefined. So we are falling back to this default value. So I hope you understood this nullish coalescing, and you have seen somewhere this sign, these 2 pipes. Let me tell you the difference between those. So let's comment nullish collision versus two pipes. I think I can explain this inside our console better. Let's say we have 0 and we have pipes and we have 10, and below we have log and we have 0, 2 question marks, and then 10. And let's comment these out. So you notice our OR operator gives us 10 and our nullish collision gives us 0. So it means that the key difference between nullish collision and OR operator, this is an OR operator. So the difference between those is this OR operator gives us the default value when our left side value equals to 0 or empty string or false as a falsy, and replace them with the default one. But our nullish collision only gives us default value if the left side of it is null or undefined. It will not affect on 0 or empty string or any falsy value. It will only get us the default value when the left side is null or undefined. Let me show you another example as well with the strings. So let's add, or let's just copy these and let's make it an empty string, and let's make it a, let's say, default, and come here, let's make it empty string and let's make it default. Now you see we are getting default in here because the left side of this OR operator is empty. I told you that if it's 0 or empty or falsy value, it will get us our default value. So we are getting default here, and we are getting empty string here. You can see inside our console we are getting empty string because the left side is empty string. It is not null or undefined. If I make it null, then we will get default. You can see if I make it undefined, then we can see default. So this is the difference. Now if I show you the falsy or booleans, let's come here, let's make it false, and let's make this side true, and same way here true and here false. So you see we are getting true in the first one because the left side is false, so the empty string or false or 0 will get us the default one, and in here we are getting false because it's not null or undefined. So I hope you understood the concept of this nullish collision as well. Let's comment it out. And let's finally combine those three features in one example. Let's add a comment combining all three features. So let's create a function. Let's say getUserTheme, and we have first parameter user. Then let's add a fallback parameter and make it theme light. And inside those curly braces, let's return our user, our optional chaining dot settings. If inside the user we have settings, then inside settings we have theme, and let's say our nullish collision, and then our fallback value. So you see I have added those three features in one example. This is our default parameter, this is our optional chaining, and this is our nullish collision. So this will return basically if user inside user object, because we are adding dot, so it means inside our user if we have a settings, and inside our settings if we have a theme. So if this value got undefined or null, it will return us the fallback value, which is light. Let's create two variables or three variables. Let's say user3, and inside that we have name property, which is equals to Maruf. Then inside we have a settings property, it will be theme, and let's make it dark, and let's duplicate it. If you want to duplicate, you just put Control Shift and arrow key down, or if you are in Mac, you will just say Shift Option and arrow key down if you want to duplicate it at down. So let's make user4 and user5, and let's not add settings here in user4, and let's change the name to Ollie, and let's make our user5 as null, or let's remove this and make it null. So now if I invoke that function, let's add a log. Inside our log, let's invoke this UserTheme, and let's invoke it right here, and then make it pass our user3. So user3 name is Maruf, and settings themes is dark. So we are getting dark at our console because this is user3, and user3 will go here, which is the user. Now inside this user we are getting settings, which is this one. Then inside settings we are printing our theme, which is this one, which is equals to dark. So dark will go here. It will be like this, dark. So nullish collision will not get us fallback value because the left side of it has a string value. As I told you, it will only get us our default value if the left side of it is null or undefined. So we are getting dark. If we come here, if we duplicate it and pass our user4, which is this one, now you see we have light, which is a default value, which is this one, because we pass user4, which has only the name. There's no settings or theme. So the user4 will go here and it will check if inside user there's a settings. So right here it will be undefined. So it will immediately trigger our nullish collision and it will see the left side is undefined, then give us a fallback value. So we are returning this light inside this function. So that's why we are getting light. If we pass user5 here, you will see light as well, because user5 is equals to null. So we are getting null here and it is returning us our fallback value. If we invoke it like this, let's add a second parameter or argument to be equal to blue. So it will get us blue. You see inside our console we are getting blue because the first argument is user5. So we are getting user5 here and our second parameter will be equals to blue. It will ignore our light default value of this fallback. So now fallback is blue. So that's why we are getting blue inside our fallback. So that's it for today's lesson. You just learned about default parameters, optional chaining, and nullish collision. And I have shown you these 3 essential ES6 plus features in one example. So in the next lesson, we learn about classes and inheritance in JavaScript. If this helped you, like the video, subscribe to Developer Maruf, share it with someone learning JavaScript. Jazakallah khair for watching. Allah Hafiz.